We are excited to have Joe McCluskey with us today. Joe is SVP of Strategy and Growth Officer, Data and Analytics, and Head of Strategy and Delivery for EXL's Marketing Services Group. He's responsible for EXL's growth in the healthcare, insurance, and financial services markets. Prior to EXL, Joe was at LSC Digital for over 24 years, where he worked with clients to build a portfolio of data, web technologies, analytics, and campaign execution disciplines. So we know that Joe is on the cutting edge of all things tech and has a really compelling topic for us today. So welcome, Joe. I'm going to hand it over to you, and you are in control of your slides, at least you should be. And John and I will keep an eye on the chat. So for folks who we know this group loves to ask questions and add commentary, please do that. Please add it in the chat. There will be a couple of breaks in Joe's presentation. So you're also welcome to raise your hand and we will call you off mute and you can ask your question directly. But with that, over to you, Joe.
Thank you very much. And I'm not looking at the chat or the picture bars because I am doing this on my laptop, which is just the best way to sort of project it. So can everybody see Pam, can you see my screen okay?
We sure can. Looks great.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much for having me. It's an exciting group, and it's nice to be here. So my name is Joe McCluskey, and as Pam said, I'm with EXL. I serve as the Marketing and Growth Strategy Officer, primarily focused on our insurance and healthcare divisions these days. That's a relatively new role for me. My background, though, does include years and years of retail and publishing and an awful lot of healthcare. I'm sorry, an awful lot of education. By way of introduction, though, EXL is a NASDAQ-listed international advisory firm that was founded in 1999. We're headquartered on Park Avenue in New York City, and we work with 9 of the top 20 U.S. banks, 9 of the top 10 U.S. insurers, and 12 of the top 20 U.S. healthcare companies, as well as many retailers and energy companies as well. And I'm one of 60,000 employees at EXL obsessed with helping customers innovate on their data, operations, and improving customer experiences via digital transformations. Did someone have a question? I heard a little feedback.
Nope, I think we just had a cough, but that's all
right.
No,
it's fine. That's what I'm not looking at the picture. I'm just looking at my presentation. So Pam, you're just going to tell me to stop if I need to stop.
100%.
Thank you. All right. So as I stated, EXL and the concept of innovation is one we obsess over. In marketing, there's a famous saying by a renowned marketing and management consultant who once said, business only has 2 functions, marketing and innovation. And for our first quiz of the day, does anybody remember which management consultant said that? Famous
Drucker.
Management? Yes, very good.
Favorite quote.
I told
Marketing is also not a cost center, according to Drucker, because it stimulates all demand.
That's excellent. Yeah. My favorite is results are obtained by exploiting opportunities, not by solving problems after this one. But this one seemed very appropriate. He contributed to much of the management philosophies that all the firms we work at and a lot of people we work with today adhere to, and clearly was ahead of his time. But anyways, marketing innovation right now is seeing more changes than I can remember. And I was at a firm who started a digital division, basically email, in the early 2000s, and we built a pretty great business there. And there was a lot of change there. I don't think it's anything compared to what we're seeing right now across what machine learning is offering, what generative AI is doing in form of content, and certainly what we're going to see moving forward with cloud computing. So we're going to talk at length about those things. But first, I wanted to explore the relationship between innovation and marketing and answer or ask a fundamental question. Where does innovation really begin? So does innovation begin in a lab? Does it happen, or does it happen when marketers take what the brilliant minds have developed and they bring it to life in the marketplace? Which means marketers are handmaidens to engineers, scientists, and programmers, and others who develop products and services. And that an unsuspecting public will just simply consume something because of the product's inherent benefits and features. So I'm going to argue that for a minute. So Innovation, if it begins in a lab, there's really there's three things. There is scientific discovery, where many groundbreaking innovations like the light bulb or post-it notes came out of scientists and engineers who are focused on solving a problem, and voila, you get those two things. Think about Tesla and SpaceX. Technological foundation innovations in a lab for future products in future industries. Think about the IBM mainframe. It laid the groundwork for the computing and the innovation we're seeing today. Fuel injection improved car performance long before it was actually in commercial use. And then creation of new markets. Some innovations have created entirely new markets altogether. Think the iPhone, think AI now. Here, the innovation itself is ahead of its time. It helps define a market, and now we're all catching up to leverage AI. Remember when the iPhone came out and they had this thing called an app store? Nobody thought the app store would work. It worked. So, but again, these are the innovations, but I think a lot of the people in this room might not agree that marketing begins or ends in a lab. I think they're thinking that marketing is where the innovation comes from, that it doesn't begin and end in the lab. It reaches its full potential when sales and marketing produces it into something that solves a real problem, something that brings value to the marketplace. So innovation isn't just about creating something new, it's about creating something that resonates with our customers. And it's marketing that ensures that innovation finds its place in the world, drives adoption, and delivers. So let's argue that it begins in the marketplace. Let's focus on the core of what marketing does in order to make that argument. So, who are your customers? What do your customers value? And how do you give your customers what they value faster and better than the competition? So, first, if who are your customers matters, well, then within marketing, we solve the problem of understanding who is your target audience. Innovation can't be guided if we don't understand the products or services that are going to meet the needs of who we're marketing to. And we identify and we segment customers. Innovation isn't just about technological breakthrough, it's about covering a gap or an unarticulated need in the marketplace. A breakthrough product only becomes valuable when it addresses a specific customer segment and their needs, or at least that's what I think, and I hope you agree. So, number two, what do your customers value? Innovation thrives when it's aligned with customer value. We're all at the intersection of customer insight and development of innovative products. Innovation doesn't happen in a vacuum, though. It needs to be rooted in the values and the preferences of your target audience. Customers are driven by what they value most: convenience, quality, great experiences, emotional satisfaction, enjoyment, peace of mind, other things, I'm sure, whatever. And this is where the magic is happening now. Marketing teams actively listening to customer feedback, track trends, and conduct research to ensure innovation addresses key value points, whether it's through our surveys, focus groups, analyzing purchase behavior. You and I provide the critical insights that guide the innovation process. For example, think about the shift towards sustainability. Think about how that's influenced product innovation over the recent years. It was marketing jobs to interpret this shift and work with innovators to create solutions that align with customer demand. And when it doesn't happen that way, remember the Segway? Anybody have one? Do you use it? Well, if you do, Segway was going to be the revolutionary transport apparatus of the future. And if you do have one, we'd love it if you posted a picture of it. But the future is here, and apparently Segway missed the boat. Convenience, enjoyment, great experiences, ease of use, guess not. The electric scooters actually outflanked them. So let's remember, what do your customers value? Segway missed that. And then the third thing, how do you give your customers what they value faster and better than the competition? So if we don't want to be Segway or the Apple Newton or a hoverboard, we then must come to the last and maybe most challenging part, delivering on the promise. Even when you and your customers are, even when you know what your customers are and what they value, the true success of innovation is how you deliver that value faster and better than your competition. This is where the synergy between marketing and innovation will become clear. Marketing doesn't just sell the products, it positions them as the superior solution. We craft messaging, design, user experience, and clearly we communicate benefits better than our competition, but it's about making sure the product is seen, understood, and adopted by the marketplace. To be successful, there needs to be an integration between marketing and innovation. The rest of the time today, though, I'm going to now move on to acquisition and persistency strategies. But as we do so, I just want everybody to remember and think about innovation and how it is innovation and marketing are linked. Without innovation, marketing has nothing to communicate. But without marketing, innovation is like that tree that falls in the woods and nobody hears it. So in a world where customers have so many options, it's a marriage between innovation and marketing that's going to reach the consumers. And that's where it's going to resonate to their values, to their needs, and it's timely. So I'm going to pause real quick there, see if there's any questions. I think there might be some things in the chat. Pam, I wasn't sure if we needed a pause. Is there anything that we wanted to stop and discuss?
I think we're good. A couple comments and a few people introducing themselves. So I think you're good to keep on going, Joe.
All right, great. Okay, so sticking to that theme of timeliness, the most powerful differentiator in the market today is really speed. Speed at which the values companies can innovate on new products, building better customer journeys, adjusting to changing expectations, and capturing value from their own data. Speed, though, is moved from a mark of quality to being, synonymous with quality. To achieve speed, though, businesses need foundational data transformation to look deeper and to find new ways to stay effective. As data management capabilities have accelerated, so too has the ability to structure unorganized to organize unstructured data, and the ability to leverage machine learning to increase the amount of data we can incorporate into our customer models. These models are changing the way that we do marketing. We're able to now build campaigns that are tailored to each individual customer. Personalization is changing marketing as we know it. There's little doubt that the bets that we're all making today on our data analytics and digital strategies are going to be directly linked to the outcomes that we can expect tomorrow. And as we are now focusing on acquisition and retention strategies, it is important that I overemphasize the need to commit to data and digital transformation and to maintain an open-minded stance for modernizing business models. And what I see the most in advising chief marketing officers and chief technology officers is that most companies just aren't set up to capitalize on the opportunities that come to them as quickly as they'd like. Kind of like what Peter Drucker said, business is about capitalizing on opportunities. Typically, their business processes, the reason for this is their business processes are just too constrained by legacy technology, and they're heavily dependent on manual intervention or too much human in the loop. Too much human in the loop is the enemy right now of any data-led business. Traditionally, companies have approached this transformation, though, by these massive redesigns of enterprise-wide technologies and platforms and business processes, which is scary because we all know, we've all probably been part of these. They're expensive, they're time-consuming, and they also had very low success rates historically. So this type of transformation does scare people, but it's critical that that we lean in on data and digital transformation in the future. If anybody happened to see our CEO, Rohit Kapoor, on CNBC last week, he was speaking about our clients' needs for AI-based acceleration and market leadership to meet these transformation objectives. He also talked about the fact that winners and losers will be determined by who can accomplish this the fastest. So back to the timeliness, offering what your clients need better and faster. He also talked about the importance of operations being redesigned in cloud environments. It's amazing the amount of information you can now store at a place like AWS relative to just a year ago, 3 years ago, 5 years ago. And moving processes and workflows that are more easily configurable to create data flows that are unconstrained by humans in the loop and to help generate new data flows that you can run your businesses on, that you can glean insights from your businesses upon. These are allowing companies to deploy machine learning, automation, and AI. And they're re-architecting data flows to help organizations understand which improvements will have the greatest impacts on their businesses. And this new information will enhance your operations. It'll create a flywheel effect for ongoing improvements, not just in marketing, but across your entire business that will drive your business forward. Companies that are making sense of their data today are growing faster and they're achieving market dominance. The ones that are not data led are at risk of being left behind, as in the book of Matthew. So I'm going to take another pause, another breath here. I think we have 15 in the chat, but I'm not reading them. Pam, you're good?
Absolutely, Joe. So just a question from Rob
Yes.
in the chat. How are we able to anticipate customer values early enough time to alter our strategy? And some of our audience members are contributing to this conversation with talking about surveying customers, market research, product market fit, et cetera. So what would you add to that set of advice?
Yeah, so as you guys are gonna find out, I have a very high affinity for dashboards that have chat capabilities built into them, and I'm going to talk about those in a little while. But marketing now has the ability to have this to create a very high level, instantaneous view of everything within the organization, and so does business for that matter. But the concept of marketing effectiveness at a high level, that we can very quickly go and look at green dots, yellow dots, and red dots about parts of our business, whether I'm the leader or whether I'm the campaign manager or whether I'm a data engineer, having these coordinated views into our business will tell us today, oh, we need to go into this channel. It'll tell us today we need to change the copy on that email. It'll tell us today we don't need to mail that anymore. And I'm going to hit a lot on that in the next section. I'm going to talk about data a little bit now, but I'm going to talk in great detail, and I have some case studies on just that topic.
Yeah, perfect. That'd be great. I know this group cares obviously a lot about data, and I think those practical stories of what you've seen and what people have done, those are always of value to the SAMI audience. So back to you, Joe.
Yeah, it'd be great to do a roundtable just on some of these topics, because I can see that there's a lot of interest in it. So maybe that's something we can do in the future. But all right, so data. In this year so far, I don't know, it's March 20th. I've probably been in 6 cities with 6 different companies. And there's one theme that we're seeing more and more. And again, this is insurance and healthcare insurance and retirements related. But the top OKR that I'm being asked about from C-suite operations executives is about the organization's readiness for digital success, or how will they generate a higher proportion of revenue this year via digital than last year. It's probably the number one question we're being asked for companies that are looking forward. And to do that, these are the areas we're going to cover today. We're going to talk about the fact that we have to have more of the right data. Get into that. Leveraging analytics to create actionable insights, leveraging personalization for high levels of engagement, and being ready for e-commerce. In 2025, there's a lot of companies that just aren't ready for e-commerce. We see it every day. But best-in-class companies are doing these things and are acquiring new customers at a faster rate while retaining their existing customers as well. So data-driven organizations are 23 times more likely to acquire new customers. So according to McKinsey, data-driven organizations are not only 23 times more likely to acquire customers, but they're 6 times more likely to retain them and 19 times more likely to be profitable because they're data-driven. Leveraging your own data is the most important thing that businesses can do, and it enables them to be more informed, make better decisions, and it allows them to improve customer experiences rapidly. The result, satisfied customers that keep coming back. Data is the most important asset you have. The fact is, the more accurate information you have about your business, specifically your customers, the more you can leverage it in making decisions. When businesses don't manage data properly, as we all know, they can experience a range of negative consequences: poor decision making, lost revenue, damaged customer relationships, operational efficiencies, legal issues, breach, tarnished reputation due to bad decisions made from bad data. But in marketing, from what we see, the areas that are affected most by bad data are customer communications. Pretty hard to send out good marketing materials, order confirmations, delivery updates, etc., if you don't have great information. Personalization, really hard to match specific needs to someone if you don't really know who they are. Targeted marketing, accurate segmentation is based on good data, right message at the right time. Customer service, it's easier to provide great customer service when you know who they're talking to and you can predict why they're calling. One of the things EXL does very well is it predicts at like an 88% rate why you're calling and the proper amount of empathy to have about the reason you're calling. Chatbots and digital virtual assistants need accurate data as well. Data analysis, we spoke earlier about the winners and the losers extracting value from their data so that they can deploy machine learning, automation, and AI. And then reputation. We just don't look good if we send someone a mislabeled piece of mail or we send them an offer. You know, you send me an offer for something my wife likes or vice versa. That doesn't look good. These things harm reputations. So in order to do that, I'll throw out some obvious things. We all know that tighter data entry processes when you're bringing in data help, conducting audits, obviously, removing duplicates, also known as merge purging your data, identifying and removing inactive contacts, and then implementing stringent validation rules. All these things will help, but everyone knows these things. So to really extract from your data, I always suggest enhancing it once you've done those table stake things, enhancing it and leveraging data connectors to maintain your files. So there's obviously two broad types of data: consumer data and business data. Molly, I think, talked about the fact that she does both. So she and I have that in common. That's common in education. It's also common in insurance, healthcare, retirements, where businesses call on other businesses. And then when the business buys, that the real consumer are their employee customer certificate holders. In order to be successful from that B2B to C, or sometimes there's agencies B2B to B2C, you need to have really accurate data and you have to have really great insights on who the people are at the different areas and stages of the value chain. So in order to do that, we have in a lot of databases now, we have a lot of things on consumer demographics, business firmographics, and I'll use some examples to show you how businesses that we see on television right now are using the whole value chain to give you solutions that resonate when you see them.
Hey, Joe, before you leave that slide, I know one of the things that you're focused on, and a lot of people on this call are focused on, is just the role of GenAI and AI tools in general. So how do you see that fitting into this picture? How do you see that, getting more data, enabling, increasing personalization? Like, it'd be great to, kind of hear some of the latest since it's changing so fast.
Sure. Well, so many of times what we're seeing now is people are enabling CDP, CRMs, data marts, enterprise data stores, whatever they're calling them. They're enabling them with chat technologies. So the first thing that they can do is as they're ideating about data selection, data segmentation, data analytics, they're actually kind of talking to the computer. It's like an old Star Trek movie. I remember he was trying to talk to the computer, but didn't talk back. But the idea is that you can very quickly get into broad-based data segments, and then we can feed this information into generative AI programs where it's going to tell us all the different things that people have in common. One of the technologies that we utilize is a technology that looks at about a petabyte of data a night for social media. And it comes back and it will basically tell us what every single person on a given database values more, whether it's sustainability, whether it's world peace, or whether it's some other bad example I'm going to make up off the top of my head. But what we're able to do is because of the data we have and these connectors we have, so that I know indirectly what your social sentiments are as part of this batch. We can create all sorts of different data models that talk about next best action, always next best action within the interstitial environment, within a remarketing environment. I'm going to get into how we draw people back once they've dropped off of our sales funnels. So all this is the fuel. The rocket ship is going to be powered by AI and Gen AI, but this is the fuel that's going to get the ship out of the atmosphere, Pam. Is that fair?
Yeah, great. Yeah, great point. And I think that next best action is a good thing for us to keep in mind because there's always so many things we can do. But what is the next best action, right, to take that customer down the journey?
One of
Great
my
thought.
great
Thanks.
one of my great colleagues would be a great speaker in the future, and that's all he does. And he just makes me look smart sometimes. But he's got some really great presentation on managing this data, putting it in the cloud, and dimensionalizing it in a way that doesn't put people like me to sleep. So maybe we'll see if we can get him to come and speak in the future just about next best action and how these models are enabling some stuff. He's got some great case studies, which I'll touch on here. And this is part of next best action right here. So with the right data, predictive models, and to us, a predictive model is a next best action model. Generally, it's a net present value score first. Kennedy, if you're on, you'd probably like that. And then NPS is obviously something that's really important, especially for businesses, understanding that people have a neutral to positive versus negative feeling. All these different types of modeling comes from the right data, and it helps you optimize marketing strategies. Because with this type of analytics, marketing now has a holistic view of its results for its efforts. And with a wider, larger, and more helicopter view, marketing can be better and understand where to allocate resources right now, be it a new campaign, add another channel, improving email copy. They can do this right now. You don't have to wait. It's all this information is there, and we're watching large companies and smaller companies make real-time decisions about large ad budgets. But obviously the long-term effects are improving customer experiences, increasing revenue, reducing risk by identifying and mitigating potential attrition. B2B, that's huge. There's nothing worse than losing an existing customer. There's nothing more of a hit to your profitability than losing an existing customer. Gaining competitive advantages by identifying and acting on opportunities faster, timeliness. So, all right, we're going to get into some cool applications for this. So by understanding who their customers are, these brands are building successful campaigns that we all enjoy and laugh at, or hopefully laugh at when we see them. Demographic, lifestyle, and behavioral data influence some of these memorable campaigns. By understanding and targeting consumer sentiment, for instance, Dollar Shave Club is overcoming common frustrations, such as high cost of razors and the inconvenience of purchasing them. Has anybody tried to buy a razor? You got to get someone to unlock a vault to buy razors these days to get the ones that people like. So by identifying and playing to these pain points, the brand is connecting very successfully to shavers of all generations. They're not just one bucket or the other. And Old Spice is also doing something similar. They've achieved a cross-generational appeal with their new ads by targeting younger demographic with a certain kind of humor and creativity. Old Spice has transcended age barriers. It is successful, and it is successfully appealing to both young consumers and those familiar with the brand, like myself. Like I know I couldn't tell you what type of toothpaste I have, but I can tell you that I think I have Old Spice in my drawer. And as proof, P&G just published its earnings, and do you know that Old Spice just beat Unilever for the first time in a long time? I'm not saying it's because of this commercial, but it is certainly broadening its appeal. And then on the business side, because I actually like to talk about B2B, even though we haven't talked a lot about B2B. So Salesforce, demographic, lifestyle, and behavioral data is influencing their go-to-market strategies. Ultimately, Salesforce cares about customer acquisition, and they hope that Matthew McConaughey and Woody Harrelson and their funny commercials in the airport or in the restaurants will contribute to customer acquisition by attracting businesses that are looking for AI-powered solutions. But what they did was they did a lot of focus groups on a lot of CEOs that do a lot of technology, that buy a lot of technology, and they looked at them at home. They looked at them as far as their media preferences, the things that would appeal to them, and they built a whole campaign around it. And I can't say whether this is successful or very successful, but I think based on the length of it, it's somewhat successful. And as a Salesforce power user and someone that obviously advocates for some of their products, this is just another example of data coming to life in the form of something that we see on television, TV, and wherever all the time. And I'm going to touch here on two cases that I like and was fun to be involved with. The first one is a consumer application. A prominent retailer needed to increase sales to their most loyal customers by mining purchase data. Their challenge was they had collected all sorts of data on these folks, but it was in different places, mobile apps, on their website, in store, across different types of engagement, email programs. But it was siloed and not easy to access, which I think we've all been part of. So to deliver highly personalized offers and promotions to their best customers based on preferences and buying habits, they needed a way to join all that data in order for the analytics to do their trick, to build the models. So to build the program, we had to help them remove a few roadblocks. We built some data pipelines between the silos, moved them into a S3 bucket up in AWS, and was able to get all their purchase data, location preferences, visit frequencies, and more. We then were able to mine it and build segments on their customers that had similar demography, buying habits, media consumption habits, and buying patterns. And we created multiple high-value cohorts to test with. Then we consulted with them on the concept of building unique customer journeys for each cohort. The biggest thing and the hardest thing that we find is that folks try to obviously push everybody into a one-size-fits-all sort of world. Well, in this day and age, customer journeys for each of your primary 4 or 5 cohorts is very important. And then stratifying offers like discounts and buy one, get ones, flash sales, inventory sales, et cetera, across those to understand what works is the most important thing. And then finally, we built dashboards. As I said earlier, I have a strong affinity to data and analytics, and therefore building intuitive marketing effectiveness dashboards, which I'll go into in a minute, is really, to me, table stakes for any business. Building a sustainable roadmap for your business that doesn't include this type of analytics may be an opportunity for you. But the results of this were fantastic. 5% increase in segments to already great customers across, the right calls to action crossed with the right dress shoes or, suits or whatever they were selling. It's a high-end retail store. As well as very, very large spikes in traffic, which they like because they're also starting up their own media network. But it was a really fun program, and it was all based on unlocking data and then building models upon that data. From there, then the marketing folks were able to have a lot of fun with it. I'm going to do one more, and then I'll pause real quick before I jump into the how we did this. Just for the B2B folks in here, I know we've got salespeople in the room, and even though I like to say I'm a marketer, most people accuse me of being a salesperson as well. So I have another fun one here that I think really encapsulates how data management, analytics, and automation can drive really any business to business program. A prominent insurance brokerage company firm found that modeled data could improve KPIs for their appointment setting programs, which was very important to them. The business had historically relied on cold lists and the telephone to support sales, young associates dialing businesses for appointments for their advisors. So we got to come in and build models to predict the likelihood that a business was actually in market and cared. and then to ideate on digital automations that would serve content to educate the businesses on the benefits of this particular firm. They also found, though, that this approach not only helped in efficiently scheduling appointments with prospects, it also led to a higher appearance rate and a higher likelihood of an appointment converting into a paying customer. So in order to drive this program, we also needed to remove a few roadblocks. We built some data pipelines between their CRM, enterprise data store, and some of their other platforms, and we're able to generate ideal customer profiles. We enabled marketing automation at scale. They were doing marketing automation, of course, but we delivered it. We were able to enable it and hook it up in a way that they were able to deliver personalized brand and product content based on the ideal customer profile. And then we worked to initiate follow-ups in support of the continued outreach. Most sales calls aren't made on the deals aren't made on the first call, they're made on the whatever fourth call. Automated delivery of appointment reminders to reduce no-shows and improve customer experiences. And finally, yes, we built dashboards, really easy to understand, intuitive marketing effectiveness dashboards of the B2B flavor. But what this did is this showed intent. This showed a lot of different metrics that are inherent to B2B. But in the first year of this program, they increased appointment setting by 20%, and sales were proportional. They also increased satisfaction from new potential customers because they knew why they were taking a meeting, leading to a higher overall lifetime value. And I'm going to pause there. I'm going to go into sort of the how in a second, Pam, but any other questions? Good so far?
Yeah, absolutely. So Christopher Pike, and I'll invite you to come off mute if you prefer, but I will convey your question to Joe. And I think this ties into the case studies you just shared and may lead us to where you're going next, right? So you mentioned that you must have good data for digital success. And what are the common ways in which you find data is bad or misleading in the field? Because obviously that's something we also need to keep an eye out from. So Christopher is a data engineer, comes at it from the tech perspective, but trying to understand it from the marketing side. So great question, Christopher. Feel free to come off mute if you want to clarify, but Joe, that's the question.
Yeah, I mean, so to me, the biggest thing, especially like if I were to think about my technology, I used to do a lot of work in tech, is the biggest thing is obviously is in technology, being able to drive someone to your solutions page, drive someone into your open source network, drive someone to do a trial is obviously those are like the first signs of life. I'll touch on those in a second, something like that in a second. But the most frustrating thing is not accurately knowing who you're talking to, who's actually coming to the website. And you can't be perfect at that, but you can get really close these days. You can get certainly to a 50 or 60% accuracy level of who is coming in from a maid, from a cell phone, from an email, from an IP, from a cookie. And being able to activate that profile at a contact level, and at a business level, and then at a, who they are as people, that's the biggest thing that we solve for. Most of our data is siloed, it's locked up, and I wouldn't say it's inaccurate. I would say it's cataloged inaccurately. And I could go over case study after case study on that, but based on the fact we have 17 minutes left, I'm going to push ahead.
And that is perfect. Thank you so much.
Happy to chat about that offline. I got a lot of tech target and intensify up in your region experiences with that type of data. So from an older life, to be clear. So okay, let's see. So analytics. So clearly, all these cases leverage data and analytics, and they help create a competitive advantage when they won. And analytics will help us do things like forecasting trends, making better decisions, and understanding what drives consumer actions. But why they matter or prove positive is that Gartner's or McKinsey tells us that insight-driven businesses, analytically driven insight businesses are taking $1.8 trillion away in sales from their less informed competitors. And according to Bloomfire, analytics businesses are growing at an average of 30% per year. because they focus on using insights derived from analytics to make better decisions, more informed decisions, and that keeps them growing faster than their competitors. So I'm going to talk about right now how to really leverage your analytical horsepower. If if I show up on your doorstep, a lot of times I'm brought in and people see me kicking and streaming. But if I show up on your doorstep and I don't know enough about your business or I think there's opportunities, we will generally organize a four quadrant look into your business. The first one will be and it could be in different order, but customer journey analytics. This is the process where we understand everything that you're putting into the marketplace, but it allows us to understand what you're doing to different cohorts and if you have different cohorts, and it allows us to kind of think about the art of the possible. And this gets most people excited, even if they weren't excited at the beginning of this universe. If the CFO initiated, sometimes, we'll start with this. CRM effectiveness tells us two things. It tells us how effective your CRM is at increasing sales and retaining customers, but it also tells us that how well you are at internal communications and how well your team understands the plan and how much of everybody's on the same page. Marketing mix modeling, this is where you spend all your money, and it allows us to understand the ROI derived from every dollar that you spend. And attribution modeling. Now, this is always a volatile subject because there's all sorts of different types of attribution, but it's a way to figure out which marketing efforts contribute to sales and conversions. It's also known as channel attribution. And it analyzes customer interactions with various touch points. And it's a way to sort of create a formula that says this is how much that contributed to conversions. So it's a critical tool to help us understand what's working. It just requires a little bit of agreement on which metrics we want to use. But once we've sort of gone through that and we have the lay of the land, we then really just dig in on beyond that macro level, where are you losing customers? A funnel drop-off rate is the percentage of users who abandon a process before the desired action happens. And it reveals where people are dropping out, and it helps us identify areas for improvement. It tracks drop-off rates, and it's kind of a way to pinpoint what you're good at and where you need to focus. And both of those are important. So this is a consumer one. This is an e-commerce example. But to investigate drop-off rates, let's look at a typical consumer one. The initial metric here is for the number of folks hitting the landing page or the website, which is taken at 100. As you can see in the picture, each stage of the conversion funnel drops off, which is normal, but you're looking for the weak spots that can be improved. In this case, it's in the between stages 3 and 4 of the user's journey, initiating the checkout. Only 39% of these users completed from the previous action, and barely 27% of all the landing page visitors took the desired action, which means the most problematic area for this business is in initiating the checkout. And the use cases become abundant here: remarketing, interstitial, nurturing, win back, shopping cart abandonment, all these different things. We'll talk a little bit more about that. But I'm going to switch gears and just do one on business, and then we'll talk about remedies. The picture here shows the difficulty in getting to a paid engagement from a paid advertising campaign. So in this case, 10,000 emails sent out about a webinar. The key point is we can see that from 120 people attending a webinar to 6 initiating a paid consultant and 10 booking a consultation, we can see that that's the area where this business should be focusing on. And this is a great place where they can insert automations and retargeting and the same things in the consumer world, because this company knows that when someone books a consultation, there's a high chance of it closing. So it makes sense to invest in getting as many people as they can to stage 3. And that takes analytics. You could argue that send a better 10,000 names or do a better 10,000 social ads. Sure, that's absolutely important and critical. But figuring out how to move people from the webinar to booking a consultation. In the previous case study, we talked about the different areas of the funnel that you automate. that sales doesn't have to do that work, marketing needs to do that work. And by identifying and optimizing these key customer journey touch points and pain points, you will significantly boost your conversion rates and create a more seamless and engaging customer experience. This is where the Gen AI is coming in the fastest. This is where we're able to look at businesses and understand how much content they have in the awareness phase, how much content they have in the consideration phase, and how much they need. We can predict that through models, but then we need a way to generate it. Well, things like Chat GPT are certainly getting a workout here. But in the examples we shared with Dollar and Old Spice and Salesforce, they've been able to identify areas where the interest is high and they use creative ways to seize upon that. And we're seeing improvement by as much as 10% in a lot of these programs. And my experience from my past life is that smaller businesses can beat that by quite a bit. So to be on the proper side of the 1.8 trillion versus losing customers and sales, focusing on the customer journey bottlenecks by staying top of your media mix modeling and attribution can be the fastest way to accelerate your business. And this is the last section, addressable media and digital readiness. Pam, we got about 9 minutes left. Should I just keep going?
Yeah, I think so. There are no other questions or comments, but I think you raise a great point about how smaller businesses can punch above their weight by leveraging Gen AI tools, and your map there of content we have versus content we need, and that ability to be personalized and identify where you're got leaks in your funnel, right? I think that's something that a lot of marketers need to be focused on. So yeah, go ahead and wrap us up. And our hour today has gone by really fast, but I'm sure we want to care about this in the last section.
I think that's a big point, though, because I'm not in our financial services group per se, but I do consult on certain areas. And I've watched us do some great things with big banks, but I've also watched us do some really great things with some smaller credit unions and smaller community banks. I actually smoke at the New England Financial Marketing Association, which is a lot of banks. Just on that topic, I think there's a lot of ways to punch above your weight these days. So global ad spend hit a significant milestone last year. It surpassed $1 trillion last year, and according to Nielsen, it's going to grow 8% this year. But unless you're one of the big boys, Alphabet, Amazon, Meta, TikTok, Alibaba, who are going to spend more than half of that trillion, you're most likely going to need to leverage tools like AI for better content to stand out in addressable media to create results that you need. And again, this is an area where people are probably going to this is going to resonate with some of the folks out here. We all know that acquisition is hard, and with the competition and these big companies in here glomming up as much of the impressions as they can, I think there's 4 things that we see that are common. Number one, most small and medium-sized businesses can only spend on bottom of the funnel impressions. And by nature, this is limited to hand raisers, like paid search, which gets expensive as you try to achieve it. You get the results you want, and every time you try to put the foot on the gas, you exceed your efficiency thresholds. 2, higher scale contextual targeting ads fail under the scrutiny of last click attribution. Last click or tag-based conversions undervalue the impact of your paid social, your display, and your video. 3, native targeting in digital platforms doesn't produce a high enough share of qualified leads. Sure, you can get people that want to buy a car. You can get people that need a loan. You can get people that need insurance, but they may not get approved. And that's a problem. If you spend a lot of money on that and you have a low approval rate, that's almost as bad as getting no results. That's why direct mail can be so efficient in so many places. It offers scale and selectability. And then 4, inaccurate attribution and inefficient CPAs make it difficult to prove a business case for brand marketing. It makes it difficult to get budget because, again, like the previous example, it just turns out it's hard to justify large expenditures. So the pain point is many of us are stuck in a vicious cycle, and they may have to go to other places. And many of these companies are turning to addressable media. Some of you may do Facebook custom audiences already. That's a form of addressable media. Well, adding this modeling to your custom audiences can have a flywheel effect on this channel. It can be very similar to direct mail, and addressable advertising can use data to deliver personalized ads, specific consumers and households. And unlike traditional mass media, it can focus on reaching specific audiences. So if you're a car dealer, you can target folks looking for vehicles. Restaurants can find foodies. A roofer can find homeowners that have roofs. It's more relevant, it improves ROI, and it's a better customer experience. And I'm going a little bit fast here because of the time, and obviously Pam will post these slides.
Right.
But the other half of this, or the other most important thing, is if you have the addressable working, which you can get working, you need to personalize the ads and you need to personalize the experience to the consumer. It's one thing to show the ad, it's the other thing to get someone to convert. So right now, leading companies are automating these processes and they're creating personalized, relevant solutions. And that's why, because they understand that 71% of consumers expect you to deliver this type of experience, and 3/4 will leave if you don't. So with the efficient marketing channels in place and to drive the traffic, you need to focus on your websites and your apps and providing a great user experience. 50% of traffic is now coming from mobile and from apps. You need to be compatible with every one of those. So while your website is your first impression, it needs to be easily navigatable and it needs to have a great experience. Easy navigation and personalization are keys to commerce here. And think about our own experiences. The last time you tried to buy something and it didn't work, how annoyed you were and how quickly you were like, screw it, I'll go to Amazon. It's what we're all up against. So leading brands have embraced both, and from TV ads that pop up on your computer, TV chatbots may be a way to solve this simple program. Generative AI is allowing you now to take all your information and to put it into a chatbot. And the ability to take unstructured data from your call centers, from your POS, and everywhere else, and to train a chatbot is now changing this world completely. We're seeing companies use chatbots for as little as $5,000 a month, basic but effective, to up as much as $20,000 a month. But think about how it affects small businesses. It reduces labor. It provides 24/7 customer support, and they're generating sales if you train them properly. And I'm not going to go through this case study because I think we're at time, but Pam will send these out and make this link available. We're seeing companies use inexpensive chatbot technologies to do so many different things, including teeing up the right calls to action when someone's asking for FAQs. And it's a great way to dimensionalize your business. And I can't believe it. We got to the end. Too many slides. Note to myself, Pam. But again, I covered a lot here. And I think that the most important thing is just realizing that marketing's role in innovation is not secondary, it's foundational. So, happy to hang around if anybody's got any questions or ideas or wants to chat. But thank you so much. I think I'm a minute over, so I'm going to shut up right now. But
that's all right. You're great, Joe. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so thanks for putting your LinkedIn. I think folks may want to reach out to you. There was, if there's any questions that you had that we didn't have a chance to get to. But in the couple minutes we have remaining, I'm going to turn it back to John Stone. So Joe, you can leave your slide up there with your contact details so people can jot that down. But John, over to you to wrap us up.
Thank you, Pam. Thank you so much. That was an excellent session. So I just wanted to say Pam is about to put in the link to our next session. So if you're in chat, take a look at chat and click on that link and register for the next session, because it's our very own colleague I see you're still here, Mark. It's Mark Goloby on April 17th at 8 a.m. AI strategies to drive demand generation revenue in 2025. And I know, Mark, you've been a member of SAMI for forever. So we're really excited for that presentation. So this will be officially announcing the April session and the meetup later today, but it's open for registration. So Pam will put the link in the chat, as you can hopefully see there it is. Yep. So grab that, register, and keep an eye on these sessions with SAMI. We really enjoyed having you all here today, and we'll look for you in the next session.
Yeah, and just a reminder, we will post the recording and we will post the slides in Meetup. So if you signed up for the session, you'll get an alert when those are posted sometime next week. So thanks again, John, for co-hosting with me today. Joe, thank you so much to you and your EXL colleagues for being here today.
Yeah,
really
thank you
appreciate
for
it.
having
And
us.
hope everybody has a fantastic Thursday.
Thank
See
you,
you next
Pam.
time.
Thank you,
Thank you,
everyone.
Pam.
Bye-bye.
Take care.